Despite what you may have heard, the Cliffs of Moher are not closed. But if you want to do a bit of hiking, there are definitely some things you need to keep in mind. Hi, thanks so much for tuning in again to the Traveling in Ireland podcast. Today's podcast is a little different because there's actually a video that goes along with this, and you're going to find it on YouTube. So as Ollie and I are talking about what you need to know about visiting the Cliffs of Moher this year, you can go to IrelandFamilyVacations.com/COM25 if you would rather view the episode as opposed to just listening to it. Today I am joined by Ollie Gleeson, who is sitting in Doolin now. So, my man on the ground, if you will. And we're going to talk about the Cliffs of Moher, the fact that the Cliffs of Moher are not closed, and what actually is closed and why. So, Ollie, thank you so much for joining me today on short notice. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me on, Jody. I spent the last week or two replying to emails of very worried customers panicking that the Cliffs of Moher are closed. Oh my God, my holiday is destroyed. Just to start off, the Cliffs of Moher are not closed. They are not closed. What is closed, and I'll go into the reason why it's closed very shortly, is there's two sections closed. The visitor centre is open and there is a hike from Doolin available. That is one big piece of misinformation. You can hike the Cliffs of Moher still. So the reason for all these closures, it goes back a long time. This trail opened in 2012 and it was managed by the Clare Local Development Company, and they were in charge of maintaining it. But their budgets were quite low. I mean, the local council who owned the visitor centre, they didn't operate the trail, and the CLDC only had a limited pot of money. So as a result, repair works to the cliffs weren't done probably as often as extensively as they should have been done. They were still being done, but just we probably would have liked more to be done. But as the years pushed on, the trail became more popular and more popular and more popular.
It really just exploded. I would say like 2015, it wasn't even a thing that people talked about. A few people would do it, but I think about 2015, 2016, it really started to gain in popularity. And I mean, let's be clear, it's not an easy trail. And there were probably some people trying to tackle it that maybe shouldn't have been. And I know that I don't think that anybody under 15 should be on it, for the extension.
It's grade 5, which is the most difficult trail type in Ireland. Now, don't let that scare you off massively. Like, it's grade 5 for a reason, obviously. But like, if you have moderate fitness, you are able to do it. But just like you said, I wouldn't let kids out there without supervision. But there's kind of three clogs or three sections to the cliff trail. Okay.
Do you want to? I know you have like a map image, but before you share that, I think this is what I'm going to share an image of what I think caused. Oops, where is it? Let's see. It is, there it is. The BBC. I'm going to call them out for their really crappy headline. This headline from the BBC: Cliffs of Moher to be partially closed for the rest of the year. Well, the problem is that the BBC syndicates onto larger platforms like MSN and things like that. So this headline spread quickly and so erroneously, and people didn't really read past the headline for the actual story.
Yeah.
And I'm in so many forums and things like that about Ireland travel, and that was just shared and shared and shared, and it just was like, oh my gosh, no, stop.
Pandemonium.
Get the whole story.
And it's annoying because it is true. It is partially closed. There are sections that are closed. I could close 10 meters of the Cliffs of Moher, and then it would also be true.
Mm-hmm.
It's partially closed.
I also think let's back up just a wee bit, because when people think of the Cliffs of Moher, they are actually thinking of just the visitor center area, which is really extensive. You have the visitor center, you have that view that we opened with, you have O'Brien's Tower, and you have very safe paths clear throughout that. But
Hmm.
so when people think of the Cliffs of Moher, that's what they're thinking of. And by not specifying that it's the trail, which is what, it's 8 kilometers to Doolin, and then it's another, what, 10 down to Hag's Head. So it's like
Yeah.
18-ish kilometers of trail that is outside of that area. And by not specifying that that is what was closed, I think it created unnecessary panic.
Yeah. The BBC got their clickbait all right, I can
There you
guarantee.
go. So, do you
Um,
want to pop up that map that you showed me earlier, and let's talk about what's going on, what's closed, and what can still
sure.
be done?
So yeah, the Cliffs of Moher are about 17, 18 kilometers long. They start here in Doolin, just down here, and they go all the way down here and kind of end around this area here. Okay, so the visitor centre is here where it says O'Brien's Tower. Right. Unfortunately, so deaths, people falling off the Cliffs of Moher is rare, but unfortunately it does happen. And last year there was three in succession in a number of months apart. So that was very rare. And when that happened, that was obviously concerning to the people who manage the trail. So Sport Ireland are the insurer of the trail, and they did a full audit after these deaths occurred, um, and they deemed two sections to be in need of urgent repairs. Okay, so those two sections are right here, all the way, this whole 5 kilometer section going from, let's say, O'Brien's Tower, just after O'Brien's Tower, around this location, all the way down to the end. This whole area is locally known as Hag's Head.
Mhm.
So that is completely off limits for the rest of the season. And I suppose that is what people assume with when you go to the visitor center. Okay,
Mhm.
what's really interesting is I'll just jump out of here for a quick moment. Um, I'll jump back to that map in a quick moment. But when you go to the visitor center, intuitively people go to the left. They go to the Hag's Head side. That is the most popular section
And
of that.
that's so. Let me pull. Actually, it closed it, but that was the view that I started with. That beautiful, almost all. I almost think of it as soldiers lined up because it's so straight, and you're kind of looking at it, and it just goes like this.
Mhm.
But that is the view.
That is the view. Now, personally, I don't think they're the best views. In my own personal opinion, I think the north side has the better views.
Hmm.
But intuitively, when you arrive, if you don't know anything about the Cliffs of Moher, you naturally end up going that way. Once you get up that first small hill, it's relatively flat, so it's also very doable. The problem was when they had originally designed the trail. Again, it became more and more popular every year. Um, the trail is quite narrow, so
Hmm.
it was almost easier for people to walk not on the trail than it was to walk on the trail, because if you're dealing with lots of tourists, you're going to be like herding sheep on this trail. So it was
Well,
almost easy.
it almost would be like an animal trail. It was 2 feet widths, and it just
Mhm.
got deeper and deeper and deeper. Very easy to trip over. I mean, I think I did it at least once when I did the hike with you.
Again, yeah, during COVID when it was empty, beautiful, lovely, you take your time. But again, during June, July, August months when it's busy, that can become quite busy. And again, it is easier naturally, intuitively, if you're not thinking, if you're on your holidays, you're having a fun time, it's easier to leave that trail. So
Hmm.
that whole 5 kilometer section, I agree, does need to be repaired, and it will be repaired. But the whole trail, 18 kilometers, is combined of 38 different landowners. And so it's not, the trail isn't owned by anyone. Okay, each landowner has individually given us permission to walk on their land. They need to grant permission for those works to take place. And at the moment, CLDC, I know it's kind of getting complicated, but they're in the process of handing over the management of the trail to the council, and the council have more money than CLDC, so the council
Hmm.
can do full extensive repair works. So basically now the council need to go do more negotiating with all the landowners again to get the permission and start the works and repair that. There's a lot more landowners on the south section than on the north section. So which brings me to the next section of this story. So
Well, so my question, first of all, I know that the path from Doolin to O'Brien's Tower I feel like that, with the exception of maybe this little bit just right to the south of the Cliffs of Moher, just that section at the high point, right? So it's
Mhm.
just directly south, looking back. Let me see. I think I have a picture of it. Yeah, I do. Here, it would be this section, I believe. So that's just to the south. People like that view. It's the natural high point, I believe, of the cliffs, but that's not that far the um, off of the actual official park.
Correct.
But beyond that, that part of the trail wasn't as busy as the part between the Cliffs of Moher Park and Doolin. That was really the busiest part of the hike, wasn't it? Or am I just completely mistaken?
No, the busiest part of the hike is the photo you showed.
Okay.
That would be significantly busier. So again, when you rock up to O'Brien's Tower here, you can go
Hmm.
left or you can go right. By naturally, people were walking this way. They were all
Okay.
going this way. Again, once you get up that first hill, it's flat,
Hmm.
so it's an easy hike. It's also 5K here, 5K back. You know, it's 8K once you get out of the visitor center to
Hmm.
Doolin, and 8K back. So it's significantly longer to get to Doolin. So yeah, that was easier. That was
Okay.
busier, and that was the result there. But there, I said there was two sections closed by Sport Ireland. One is
Hmm.
this section, okay, that will not be open by the end of this year, or it'd be great to even see it open the following year, if I'm being totally honest. But see where it says pole boy?
Hmm.
There's this tiny 500-meter section right here, going along here. If you can see my mouth,
Hmm. Hmm.
stopping here. That section is also shut, and
Okay.
there's some repairs that need to be done there
Is
just for the.
is that section where the erosion was coming in and you almost had to jump a little spot? Is it that
No,
section? No, no, that section's fine.
that section, yeah, that section is gone. This section actually is the issue. Isn't being close to the edge at all here.
Okay.
A lot of people assume where the repairs need to be take place, it's all about being close to the edge. There's actually some other work that does need to do around maybe the stairs going down. They're not really well built, so it can be quite muddy and slippy.
Hmm. Hmm.
Need to get that sorted if there's going to be that amount of people going down them, if that makes sense. Um, So, based on that, this section is closed, and that is very likely to be open this year. Um,
Okay.
we're just waiting on one landowner to kind of do a deal and allow permission, and that should be done in the coming months. So, if you're coming to Ireland this year, I mean, if you're coming past March, April, I'd be shocked if this wasn't open, in my
Okay.
opinion. It might be open, so don't quote me, or it might be still shut, so don't quote me on that. But
Hmm.
even if it's not open, okay, and this is when people are getting panicking, you can still visit the Cliffs of Moher, and you have two options. Okay, you can go to the visitor center, you park your car in this section, rock
Hmm.
on in, do your thing. You will have access to do a hike as far as here and a hike as far as here. So you can still do a good bit of walking and get your views in. Um, the only thing is you can't leave. You cannot leave the visitor center. You cannot
Hmm.
exit this way and you cannot exit this way. And as a result, it will be maybe a little busy. The other option is to hike from Doolin.
Okay.
Okay, this is going to be 7 kilometers. It used to be 8 kilometers when the section wasn't closed because you'd have the 500-meter section plus the 500 meters then onto the center. So it's 7 kilometers. It's open. Starts here in Doolin and you hike all the way up. With the one exception now is this little link
Hmm.
between here and the visitor center is broken. So you have a couple of options. You can walk back, you
Hmm.
can hop over the farmer's gate here and walk on the road. Just for everyone listening, I highly do not recommend you do this. Please,
It's a
if
very
you're
busy
listening,
road, very narrow road.
a narrow, not even that, it's buses. There's so many buses on this
So many
road.
buses.
It's large and the road is not big. There's no
No.
sidewalk. You might be
Yeah, there's
tempted.
there's no shoulder to it. There's no edge. And if something's coming straight, that
Mhm.
there's no give.
Yeah. And the third option, you can do a tour with me.
Which is
Woohoo!
really just the way to do it.
No, I mean, outside of my sales pitch, like there's a lot of pros to doing a tour with a guide.
There is.
like number one, we can obviously provide entertainment and provide the history of everything, but also we provide a lot of safety. I know that trail like the back of my hand. It's over here. I spend all day on it, every day on it. Even if there I am, look at
There
those
you
guns.
are. This was a tour that I did with Ollie and one of my tour groups a couple of years ago. But here's the path. I mean, you can see the path right here. So it's not it's not a paved path. It's not a rocked path. Here's the edge right here. I think we had just jumped over a little crevasse right back there where Ollie, who knows that I'm terrified of heights, he's like, you may want to go inside the fence for this. I braved it, but yeah,
Again,
it's
we get people who have fear of heights on our tours the whole time. It's very common. Like our job is to keep you safe. That's our first and foremost job.
mhm,
We know the trail like the back of our hand, and we can keep you very safe. We know where potholes are. We know if a certain section it rained recently, so it's quite slippy. We're there to help you. We're there to entertain you, and we're there to keep you safe. But also that exiting thing, we have transportation organized. So when you get to the top, you don't have to walk on the road. You don't have
mhm.
to walk back. It's only a one-way hike, and then we get you back to Doolin safely. So all of those logistics are taken care of. So if you do want to come on a hike, or if you do want to experience the Cliffs of Moher in a way that isn't just a visitor centre, come on a hike with me. Woohoo! But yeah, that's the story, Jody.
Yeah, and if you're interested in learning more about Ollie's hikes from Doolin to the Cliffs of Moher, you can visit IrelandFamilyVacations.com/Ollie, OLLIE, or Ollie's Tours. So just we'll get that in there for you. But so what do people need to keep in mind? Because let's be honest, the Cliffs of Moher are the number one natural attraction in the country.
Hmm.
They're the top of the bucket list for so many people, but they're busy. I mean, they are busy, busy, busy. Because of that, I have always told people that I work with my travel planning to visit before 10 a.m. or after 4 p.m. because the majority of the tour buses are there during that time, that 10 to 4 period.
Hmm.
And the Cliffs of Moher, especially in the summer, they're open till 8 or 9 o'clock. So there's no reason to rush over there unless you're leaving the area, right? But
Correct.
what else do people need to keep in mind when they are planning their visit this year?
One big thing, I suppose, is I know this has all kind of been perceived as very negative, but in many ways, if you're coming to the visit, if you're coming to the Cliffs of Moher, even at 10 a.m., 11 a.m., if you're doing the hike, as a result, you're getting no traffic from the visitor center on the hike. The hike is dead quiet.
Hmm.
So if you want and like the unspoiled views, like the real Ireland, while visiting the Cliffs of Moher, do the hike.
Hmm.
Don't rule out the hike. Obviously, you need to have moderate fitness abilities. You need to be able to walk comfortably 7 kilometers. There's about four uphill sections, but between that, it is relatively flat. Um,
Well, I will say even if you're staying in Doolin and you just follow because the path out of Doolin for a good
mhm,
2 kilometers is wide. It is
yeah.
graveled. It's so easy. You're still getting beautiful views. They're not the super high views, but
Mhm.
there's what is it? There's a spot where that you get the smokestack effect if the waves are coming in, where they
Oh,
come
yeah.
up and then they come up through a hole and kind of do this. So even if you're not super fit, there are places that you can get onto and
Yeah,
still get those views, like you said, on either side of the actual park for a short way. You
absolutely.
can still do that.
The trail is absolutely breathtaking. The whole thing. Even if you walk 10 minutes of it, it'll be
Hmm.
a 10 minutes well spent from start to finish. And yeah, as Jody said, the start of it is actually quite wide. Only maybe 2 or 3 kilometers in do you kind of step onto the cliff trail
Hmm.
section.
Hmm.
So yeah, also if you are going to the visitor center, a book online, cheapest rates.
Hmm.
What else? Before 10 a.m. would be better. And again, like go in the evening if you can.
Yeah,
There's literally nobody there. Um, it's
it's a
peaceful.
lot quieter for
And
sure.
the only thing is, during the summer months, our sunsets are quite late.
Yeah,
But if you can get there for sunset, by God, we call it the golden hour. It is
right.
magnificent.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I think there was one other thing I wanted to ask. Oh yeah, Surfer's Path. So
Hmm.
when you look online, it says that it's open from Doolin to the Surfer's Path. Can you show me on the map where that is? Because I'm trying to figure out if it's where I think it is, and I don't know if it is where I think it is. Because when I think of Surfer's Path, I think of that little promontory that
Right here.
where they start.
Down here is
Okay, I
Surfer.
don't see a map.
Oh, sorry, I'm not sharing my screen. Sorry, people. Right here. So this is where they've shut. You cannot walk over to this location. Um, and this
Okay,
is the road that people are you should not walk on.
gotcha. Okay, okay.
Um,
So
so
this
yeah,
would where is where you'd be coming off from the
this is
cliff walk then.
correct,
Back
correct.
and you can see on the road, I mean there's no shoulder,
Oh yeah,
there's no
do not.
place to go for
Look,
if
there's
there's
our
multiple
taxi picking
cars
us
and
up.
buses.
Oh
So
no, he's gone. Never mind. Um, yeah, this is where our taxi picks us up. Woohoo!
okay.
But yeah, that is the situation there. Have you any other questions?
No, I think that clears it up. Like I said, there's just so much panic. I mean, panic seems like a really strong word for this, but you know, not reading fully, not reading past the headlines, a lot of that happening. I do know that it said, now you said, there were three deaths last year in a very short space of time, which is very, very rare. And I know from, my first visit 23 years ago now, um, there's been a lot of safety measures taken at the Cliffs of Moher. The very first time I visited, there were no tall limestone walls. You could go out onto that limestone ledge that you can't reach anymore. You can't even hardly see it unless you're at the right angle. The first time I visited, there were there was a little rock border that you could just step over.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that's happened there to make it safer. And especially I know I've had a lot of families who are like, well, should I even go there? Is it safe? And the Cliffs of Moher Park, I guess, for a lack of a better word, where the visitor center is, where it is, um, you're getting in there. The limestone walls are a good 4.5 feet high, um, incredibly safe. And I would definitely say, if O'Brien's Tower is open, which it is, unless it's very, very windy, climb that because the views from the top of the tower are incredible and it doesn't cost any, it's included in your ticket now, so definitely scale the little tower
I want
when
to
you're
add
so close.
that, these are the views that you can still get by doing the trail. I mean, they are breathtaking. Do not think that they are second fiddle to anything. Um, you don't have to do the heel click when you're on the hike. This this young man decided to tell me that he can do it at any age, at any fitness level, and here he is doing his bit.
There you go.
If you're watching this, thanks for letting me use the photo. But yeah,
Great. Well, Ollie, I appreciate you taking the time talking this through. I know that it's going to bring a lot of relief, shall we say, to
yeah,
people who are planning their trip this year. You can still visit the Cliffs of Moher. You can still get the beautiful views.
yeah,
And if you want, you can still hike it. Just contact Ollie.
yeah. Come with me, or don't. I won't cry. It's all right.
Either way.
Yeah, either way, guys.
All right.
Listen, thanks so much. Thanks for having me on, Jody, and all the best. Peace.
If you had any worries about visiting the Cliffs of Moher this year because you were seeing, kind of those clickbait titles that we talked about at the beginning, please, please don't worry. The Visitor Center and the Cliffs of Moher experience, along with those amazing views, are still wide open and available for you to visit. And since you'll be in the area, don't overlook the Burren. There is so much to see and do in that North Clare coastal area. You can go beneath the lunar landscape into massive caves, eat incredible locally produced food, and enjoy live traditional music. There are boat tours beneath the Cliffs of Moher. You can go out to the Aran Islands. You can take some great day trips. There's just so, so very much to do. And I want you to check it out at irelandfamilyvacations.com/Burren, Burren. That is going to give you an amazing overview of everything there is to see and do around the Cliffs of Moher. If you enjoyed this podcast, please leave a 5-star review at Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you can't leave a review on your podcast app, you can visit the Ireland Family Vacations page on Facebook and leave a review there, or go to Trustpilot at irelandfamilyvacations.com/trust and say something nice. I really appreciate it. If you have questions or comments about this episode, you can email me, Jody, Jody, at irelandfamilyvacations.com. As always, thank you so much for listening, and until next time, slán go fóill.